The top 10 books on happiness. Hey everyone, I'm Joe Simonds, Like Diamonds. Welcome back to the Joe Simonds Like Diamonds show, where every day, Monday through Thursday, I give you one big action item, something cool to make your life happier, more fulfilled, more purposeful in 7 minutes or less. This is a really fun one. I want to say first and foremost that there were a lot of books about happiness and about self-help and personal development that I'd read on my journey to create Fishing for Happiness here at the bottom. If you're not familiar with my book, I basically curated 300 books, all success books and books on love and God and happiness and fulfillment and money and all of these things all kind of boil down to making you happy, right? Because even the book on like how to make more money or how to be a millionaire, which is a book I read a couple times in a couple different formats, they're all trying to get you one step to happiness and more fulfillment in your life. But for these, I wanted to pick 10 books that actually had the word happy or happiness in them. So that was how you had to qualify to get on this awesome top 10 list. And what I want to do is I want to go through each of these, and these are in no particular order, and these little notepad or these stick-it pad pages, that indicates that it's a quote or some cool idea that I want to share with you out of each book. So the first one, this is The Ultimate Happiness Prescription by Deepak Chopra. Awesome author, awesome book. Turn to page 55 here. And this is talking, he spends a lot of time talking about just our culture and kind of breaking the belief patterns that our society has formed in our heads with all the advertising and all of just the stuff we see out there that we have to buy stuff. And I love this quote. Notice how much effort you are spending to impress people who will then turn around and try to impress someone else. The cycle never ends because it's based on mutual insecurity. And that's really what this book talks about, is you can get over your insecurities on status and cars and all this stuff that we feel like we have to have at homes and what college we went to. It brings a whole lot more freedom into our lives, which in turn turns to happiness. So great book. Highly recommend reading that one. This is another one of my favorites here, The Happiness Advantage by Shawn. Achor, I believe is how you pronounce his last name. He spent I think it was 12 years at Harvard. He actually went to Harvard and then spent 12 more years actually working in the dormitories. And so he learned a lot and studied all of these students and truly just try to find out what made these students happy. This is a really neat one here. It was a study that went on about studying very happy people. And they were trying to find out the overlapping theme or any kind of just congruency on the happiest people on the planet. And turns out there was only one characteristic that distinguished the happiest 10% from everyone else. And it was the strength of their social relationships. It was how many relationships they had in life. That was the only overlapping theme of studying the happiest people in the world. Really cool. Love this book. So the next one, The Happiness Hypothesis by Jonathan Haidt. This is a really cool one. You can see here it's got a man on an elephant, and that is a theme that plays out throughout this entire book. Some of these, like this one, and some of these other ones were written by psychiatrists and a lot of psychological stuff in there, but this one was certainly eye-opening. I love this one. It just says, happiness can only be found within by breaking attachments to external things and cultivating an attitude of acceptance. I talk a lot about it in my book, Fishing for Happiness. It's so much is in your attitude, and that we all have a choice to either be happy or to not be happy. I have a chapter in here about my brother Daniel, who's in a wheelchair, and every morning he has the opportunity to wake up and say, I'm going to be happy and just pleased that I'm alive, or I can be miserable and blame everyone that I'm in a wheelchair. And he takes the higher road, and that book really hammered that home. Resisting Happiness by Matthew Kelly. Great book. This one was really religious. Matthew Kelly is big in the Catholic Church, but man, this had some awesome stuff. And I have two things on here. A big thing he talks about is nothing on earth can satisfy your desire for happiness, and really talks a lot about God and faith. And this was really eye-opening for me. This talks about a lot of the same themes we just mentioned here, that a lot of people choose more things, more money, more pleasure, more of the right friends, and more accomplishments. But the end, they end up dissatisfied and wondering what on earth will satisfy this incredible desire for happiness. And his answer is nothing until you find some kind of God and faith and meaning and purpose in your life. Great book. The Happiness Equation, one of my favorites. I quote this a lot in my own book by Pasricha, and I already did an episode on this as well. And it says 90% of our happiness isn't based on what's happening in the world. It's based on how we see the world. And he's got a cool little thing in here that it says 90% is how we see the world. The rest is actually circumstances. Awesome, awesome book. The Happiness Project. This one by Gretchen Rubin. Great book. It had so many awesome stories. In the beginning, I was like, all right, this girl's like cleaning out her closet and doing she basically just did projects, like a 30-day project of trying to figure out what would make her happy in life. I did love the fact she talked about having fewer things, like when she did just clear out stuff and clear out clutter, including her closet. Having fewer choices made her happier. And I touch on that in my book, that we want control. And anytime we have too many choices, we freeze up, and it actually makes us less happy in life. But a cool book, some great stories in that. 10% Happier. Oh my gosh, this is Dan Harris, who's a talking head on TV. Awesome book. It was all really about meditation is the main thing here. If you're interested in meditation, he basically talks about meditation makes you 10% happier. And he talks about in moments where he was able to temporarily suspend his monkey mind and simply experience what was going on, he got the smallest taste of happiness ever. Really cool. Stumbling Upon Happiness by Gilbert. Another great book. A lot of psychiatry stuff in here, but if you're into that, really fascinating book. He talks a lot about how people are really resilient when they're facing trauma, number one, but two, how much better they come out after they have some type of trauma or something bad in your life. And he says, just like a lot of these talked about, you have a choice. You can choose to be happy or choose to be, miserable. And so many people have the opportunity when bad things do happen, when suffering happens in your life, you have a choice to accept it and learn from it and grow from it, or to be mad about it. This is going to be 2 episodes in a row we go over 10 books. It just takes a little bit longer than 7 minutes. Please do forgive me. Happier by Tal Ben-Shahar. So Tal and Shawn, who I mentioned earlier, the two of them work together in the psychiatry department at Harvard. Awesome book. This had so many hard-hitting, really cool facts as well, on just based on all the studies they've had with their students at Harvard. And what I loved, he talks so much about when people do have bad things like cancer or going to prison or whatnot, where you all of a sudden find out more about yourself and start leading a better life, or finding out about God or whatever it might be. And I'll quote from him, over and over we hear our patients say, why did we have to wait until now, till we are riddled with cancer, to learn how to value and appreciate life? And it's funny because we all have that capacity to have that same type of appreciation for life, and yet sometimes it does take having cancer, which I talk about in my book, or having debilitating anxiety attacks, or just something really bad, some type of suffering happen in your life, to really figure out what life is about and really to learn and value and appreciate it. The final one. This is the must-read of all of them here, and obviously I'm a little bit partial to it. It's my book, Fishing for Happiness, but this book does curate all of these and around 290 other books on just personal development and self-improvement. And this is my journey of finding more happiness and fulfillment in my own life. And of course, just curating the books along the way, and how I overcame a lot of bad things that were going on in my life, and then more importantly, just how I found more purpose and more meaning, and kind of discovered my mission in life. So I don't have time to go over all the points on this. We'll have many more episodes on Fishing for Happiness, but get in there. I'm going to do a post too and just kind of even list the headlines of all the chapters so you know what this book is about. But please do go pick it up on Amazon, Fishing for Happiness. Check out all these awesome books. here, these top 10 books on happiness. And if you have any other ones or any other questions, any books you want me to review, I actually love reading, as you might have been able to tell by me reading 300 books the last 5 years. So if you have any books that you want to see, let me know. I'd love to check them out and give you a little review. Otherwise, stay tuned. In the next episode, I'll try to be 7 minutes or less. Hopefully, you will not fault me or find me because I went over. Joe Simonds, like diamonds, had to talk so fast here the last few minutes.